Hey YouTube, it's time to install the rudder on the new Extra 330, and you need to glue this one in. This is a little different from the majority of the E-flite bind and fly or plug and play kits. This one has to be glued in. I know the task can be kind of daunting, but it's fairly easy. We're going to do it here in just a few minutes, and you'll see every step of the way. So if you're installing the rudder in your Extra 330 or maybe the 300, you'll need your rudder, you'll need your tail wheel assembly, and for this plane, the directions say use the two 8mm flathead screws. There's no flathead screws in the kit. There's Phillips head screws, but there's only two screws that are coarse thread that will self-tap themselves into the plastic. Let me show you. In the kit and the bag of nuts, what does Brian say? The nut sack? In the nut sack, there's only two black screws. Those are the screws that you'll need to screw the tail wheel assembly to the back of the plane. These are coarse thread compared to the other machine fine thread screws, and the coarse thread will screw into plastic. These fine thread screws will screw into a metal nut or some kind of a threaded surface. So this is the part of the tail wheel they're talking about, that you need the two flathead screws, but there's no flatheads. And you can see in this bracket here, got countersunk holes for the screws to fit into. As it's screwed down, it'll sit in there flush. And these are coarse thread, and this is just plastic for it to screw into. So you need a coarse screw, with a point on the end of it, so it'll get started and self-tap itself directly in there. Before we get the glue out and all that, we need to dry fit the rudder. And let's just make sure that the slits that got cut in the back here are actually, cut and ready for the hinges to be inserted. So I just got a little plastic zip tie here. You don't want to stick anything real big in there because you don't want to open up that cavity any more than you need to. You want to have as snug of a fit as possible. It takes a second to get these lined up, but dry fitting it at first will help to get to go in when you have your glue out. Just in case there's something in there that might prevent it from going in. Pretty snug. All right, then once you get it on there, you want to make sure that it's lined up at the top. Make sure it moves freely and it's not hitting up here. And you want to have this as close together as possible without any interference. So then let's flip it over and check the bottom and make sure that everything's going to work there, because tail wheel assembly's got to go in too, and all that's got to get to work just right. This piece, the wheel, actually needs to go into the rudder first, because this slides in a keyway here. So let's just see if we can do something like so. Yep, there we go. So the directions say to use a medium CA glue. What they mean by medium, it's not as runny as a thin CA. CA is just super glue. That's all it is. thin CA would be like water. Medium would be a little, thicker. And then up from medium would be like gel. Like this stuff here is gel. And then we got this Pro CA, trying to see, thin. This is a thin. And then here's a medium. There's all kinds of different types. It's just super glue. These planes are made out of EPO foam, which is basically plastic. So, there's tons of glues that can work on plastic. What you want to be really concerned with is if your plane is not made out of EPO. If it's made out of some sort of styrofoam, then you don't want to use super glue, because the chemical in the super glue will just eat up the styrofoam. It'll just disappear. So in that case, you want to make sure that you get some kind of a glue that is safe for foam. This is foam safe super glue. The only stuff that I found, Amazon I think is where I got it. Bonds all foams. And I did try this on my UMX timber, and it did not mess up the foam at all. And the UMX timber is a different type foam than EPO. It's more of a styrofoam. What you want to be really careful about is to not get glue on the hinge pins themselves. Some people rub a little chapstick or put a little drop of oil or something on them to kind of protect them, where the glue can't actually get to the hinge pins themselves. You don't want the hinge to be glued solid, All right, so I was getting another applicator tip. As you can tell that this one is worn out. Got more of a harder type than the flimsy one, which are good. And then I noticed this. We were just talking about putting chapstick on the hinge pins. This is super lube. And I don't think you guys can read it. Don't look at my hands. Don't look at the synthetic grease. So this would be the same concept as the chapstick. So we will rub some of this on both sides of the hinge pin, just so we know we're not going to glue them shut. So there's one more screw that goes right here to hold the tail wheel in. We're going to go ahead and put that in now. When you take the wire apart, and it slides in this slot right here. Just like so. And then this hole where the screw goes in, it's going to go all the way through and go underneath this wire. And the little screw will keep it from falling out. So let's do that first. That way it'll help our alignment on making sure that we get the rudder positioned the correct way. And I can feel that the screw is far enough, because I can move the wire back and forth just a little bit and feel that it's got it. And now the tail wheel is fixed to the rudder. So that should help us right now when we're about to glue the hinges in. We'll know that we're lined up with everything up on top here. Let's put some of this super lube on the hinges, on the hinge pins rather. I guess this came with one of my, I bet it came with those applicator tips and I just didn't know it. That must have been. Let's just see if I can get a little bit. It's probably tough for you guys to see. But I'm just trying to get it where the where it hinges. Because the hinges are put together like this. Got the super lube on the hinges. All right, I'm going to use just this cheap little super glue right here. Get it at your grocery store, I guess. And then I took one of my harder applicator tips, and I'm going to try to get some in here, and then I'll put a little bit on the hinge itself, and just get it in. It's just one of these things you just got to do it. Got to do it. And these puppy pads, man, they're great for this kind of a project. For catching spills and stuff. Really, really good. All right, it's coming out. I don't want to squeeze the tube because it'll jump everywhere, so I'm gonna try to. That's it. Got to be fast. Pretty nifty. You want to learn more about this, I'll put a link down in the description. Pretty cool electric screwdriver drill. This stuff right here, I'm gonna cover it completely. All right, guys. Hey, happy flying. I appreciate it very much. And hey, 3 jet giveaway at 20,000 subscribers. It can happen sooner than later. Hey, happy flying, guys. Elevator halves next up.